Welcome. Good evening. I'm Miss Jill, and this is In the Know. It's actually our first In the Know of this new year, 2025. So I have with me tonight some familiar faces out there, hopefully, as well. We have missed being here, so we're going to catch you up a little bit tonight, let you know what's coming up this week as well. And we do have a special guest in the house. So welcome, everybody.
Hey, what's up, Jill? How you doing?
Great. With us tonight, we have Mr. JJ Foster. So before we get into this, I do want to introduce JJ, Mr. Foster, as the director of ONV Financial Pillar. We also know JJ as being in finance, being a coach, being a host, being a father. But tonight we're going to talk about Mr. Foster as an author. So we ask that you stay with us so we can talk about his journey as an author, why this is important to him. He actually brought a couple things with him tonight, too, that we're going to share. So welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, Jay?
How y'all doing? I
Good,
appreciate it.
good.
I'm just going to say this, too. I have my denim and my white shirt ready. I walked in and nobody had theirs on, so I went ahead and put on a different pullover. But
All right.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
we're glad
We
to have
pulled
you.
it together. So first, before we get started, you are the director of ONV Financial Pillar. We do have a show coming up tomorrow during the day from the Financial Pillar. We also have one in the evening, NV In Depth at 8:30. So tell us a little about your role with ONV first and foremost before we get started.
It's funny because I tell people I started out sitting here in the guest seat. So I was a guest one day. Next thing I know, the Godfather reached out. He asked me, he said, hey, would you like to be a reoccurring guest? And I said, yeah. Then before I got out the door good, another young lady met me at the door and said, hey, would you like to be a part of the show? So I started out, that was in the Respect the Game on the sports side. So as we got to working together and had, some success and chemistry was good on the Respect the Game side, the financial side, they said that they were looking for somebody to be a director because the guy that was hosting, Ryan, was kind of going to step down a little bit, and they needed somebody to provide some direction. And since I do work for Lake City Bank, they asked me if I'd be interested in doing that. So next thing I know, I'm ONV in the morning, ONV in the evening, and ONV all day. So here I am. But I love it, though, because, it's all about helping people and serving people. So.
That's great.
Good.
Can we talk a little bit about why do you think a financial pillar is important in not just our organization, but any organization?
I mean, when we talk about anything, it comes down to finances. When you talk about the number one reason people get divorced, it's not we fall out of love, it's finances.
Right.
When we talk about uplifting people, the only way you're going to uplift people is to give them a way to be self-sustaining.
Right.
So therefore, if we can teach people to be fiscally responsible and give people little nuances and resources that a lot of successful people have, that is the importance of finance.
Well, we're not going to talk about finance tonight.
All righty.
Or sports, or coaching. What are we going to
Maybe
talk
a
about
little
tonight? Tonight we're going to talk about JJ Foster as an author. So I want to know, I did a little digging today, and I found some things going far back. I don't want to say far back and date all of us, but 2012, 2013. Is that around about the time where your author side started to take shape?
That is, what's funny, I tell people that journey, you gave those dates, and each of those years, my daughter was 2, then she was 4, so it all centered around her. And, you say we aren't going to talk finances, but anything that I do, everything is all intertwined.
Right.
Every one of the different hats that I wear. So I was director of education and youth services at the Fort Wayne Urban League. So underneath me, we had a program called Read and Rise. I was a part of the Real Men Read program. We partnered with United Way and brought it to Fort Wayne. So with all that, I got a chance to educate myself and see what goes into a good children's book, see what the importance is of reading, understand that, they're building prisons off of the 3rd grade reading test, things of that nature. So, when I'm looking at all that stuff, it's all coming together. Then here I am, I'm a dad. I go home in the evening, and, I do little things with my daughter. And one day I told her, I said, we're working on her numbers. Tell you, count to 10 for me. She started counting in Spanish to 10.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah. So it kind of took me aback. So I say all that, you take all those things together and you put them in one, and that's where my book came about. I went to a workshop, and they talked about what went into a good children's book. And as I'm sitting there listening, and it's just going through my head. And the other thing, the people that actually know me know that I do a little poetry and a little writing. So therefore, me writing some verses doesn't take much.
Right.
So that Me and C book that's up here, I actually wrote that at a workshop where they were talking about what goes into a good children's book.
Okay.
So by the time it was over, I had my stuff jotted down, and I showed a couple of people. They were looking at me like, "So how long did it take you to write that?"
I'm done.
And I said, at this workshop, And then the other thing with that is when we were doing the Real Men Read program, we read, I don't know, hundreds of books each year to decide which books we were going to use for that program. In those books, the one thing that I noticed, there was never any dads. Dads were at a low number.
Right.
So then when you start talking about dads of color, the percentage goes
Yeah,
even
lower.
down further. So, I'm looking at that like, wow. And I've had people even comment, because there's always going to be people, naysayers and people with negativity saying, well, me and C, that's not even grammatically correct. And I kind of laugh and I chuckle, and my answer is, anytime you're an author, you can use creative license.
Right.
How about that?
Right.
And that me represents all the dads that are involved with their children.
Gotcha.
And that's why we say me and C.
Gotcha.
That
Because
is.
it's fun. It's cute. I get that. I like that. Thank you. And I read that book many years ago. And I was just saying before we came on that I actually read it again a couple months ago. I didn't even know we were going to be interviewing you. I just
Wow.
when I ran across the book in my own library, and I decided, let me refresh. And so, I like that book a lot.
Well,
So,
good. Glad to
looking
hear
forward
that.
to reading the next one. So.
Can we see the first book? Do you have the first book with you?
Yeah, the first book, again, Me and C, and, we say numbers, but again, it's teaching young people to count in English and Spanish, just to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And as you see, we utilized, I had my kids, I made it a family project.
Mm-hmm.
My boys, they took the pictures of me and C, so they were, they were involved. And then I gave the pictures to a not a publisher, but a graphic artist, and they took it and did that. And the funny thing about using photos, I'll tell you guys, I was going back and forth, and in my research, I'm like, okay, do kids respond better to the photos or to drawings and artistry? And I'm going to tell you, it literally was 50-50 down the middle.
Oh, wow.
There was, either or. They see real people, they
They're
like
good.
that, but they see animation, they like that as well. So that's what we use. But yeah, Me and C was first, the numbers. And then we took it to Me and C Colors, where we're teaching colors in English and Spanish. And actually utilized, this is for Wade Children's Zoo. Just kind of went around town. And these literally were things that we did, like I said, together either in our backyard or just, hanging out together. But
That is so beautiful.
yeah. And the funny thing about that, my daughter, her being that small, is she's super shy. So I've always wanted, I've done different readings, and I tried to get her to go to the readings, but she would never,
No.
never wanted to do it. But the thing that really would kill her, she there'd be times where we'd go somewhere to an event, and there'd be a mom and say, hey, you know who that is right there? And the little girls would look, and then she'd say, yeah, that's C. That's whose book you read. And they would look, and they just would be petting her and stuff. My daughter was like,
Oh, she doesn't want to go to any of those things.
she wasn't feeling it just because she's that humble a person. But it's funny, as she gets older now, first thing she'll do when she's back in town, she'll pick up the book and want to read. And I still told her it'd be a neat project for us to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
A neat project, Jay. When you get older, she's gonna flip it. She's gonna be the author.
Hey,
It'll still be me and C, or me
there-
and Jay.
There you go.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
there you go.
There you go.
But you said something, and it's relevant, and it's good. You said, first of all, that you were reading and you didn't see dads, and then you didn't see dads of color, which, we see that in a lot of reading, but you didn't let that stop you. You took an inspiration from inside of you and from surrounding you to make that happen. And you mentioned naysayers. What was some of the things, or what was one thing that you can remember that somebody said wasn't going to work that you fought through?
Well, honestly, it wasn't like I announced to the world, so it wasn't like I just did it. I wasn't worried about. I did it. But the funny thing is, when I presented it to people, and everybody looking at me like, "Oh, this is good," And then, anybody that knows me, I'm my own biggest critic. I wouldn't trust it like, okay, they just said that.
Right,
They don't
they
want to hurt
know
my feelings,
Yeah.
But as I take it to different people, and everybody was like, no, this is, you really, you're onto something. But again, my thing is I just drew from so much different motivation in all the different things that I did. So with the Real Men Read program, that's one of the things, reason you take men into schools. Think about it. All of us have grown up. You go
Right.
into elementary school, there's no men in the
There's
building.
none,
There's a couple, administrators. You got a couple, janitors.
Right.
But as far as who's actually teaching,
Right. There's
they
not
don't
many.
see men.
Yes.
So when these guys, when they walk into these schools, I mean, they're heroes. They're rock stars. The kids look, I mean, they're 10 feet tall. And the fact that they literally are reading the book, reading the story, spending time with them, I mean, it speaks volumes.
For sure, absolutely. Well, you kind of spoke a little on the inspiration, several different areas of inspiration. But the next thing I have is, how do you feel that your stories impact young readers? And one of the things I was going to ask is, when your daughter was this age, back when these were written, did you guys, I know you took ideas that you used as far as like teaching and things like that, and you put them in the book, but how did your books impact her then? And how do you think, looking back now, at her current age, they impact her now?
I mean, again, when she was young, that's something that we do in our family. I mean, that's a nighttime activity, whether it was my kids, whether it's one of my nieces or nephews. We read books before, we go to bed. So therefore, the things that we utilize in my book, I want to make sure that it's entertaining and it's got pictures. And again, I always was able to take myself back. I remember when I was in kindergarten and you sit in Indian style or legs crossed,
Right.
like we say nowadays. But a teacher sits up there and they read you the story and you can visualize. So therefore, I wanted to make pictures and have things that people you can relate to. And like I said, every activity that's in that book, I mean, we literally did. You
you
see
were
us
doing
playing,
anyways.
Yeah, you see us playing hide and seek. You see us at the zoo. Just rough houses in the backyard. So these are activities that kids do, and the fact that you can put it in a story and kind of have fun with it, all the while teaching them. Because I think my daughter. Again, like I said, her counting to 10, I think she got that from Dora the Explorer. So, but again, if I could bring Dora into a book and you get it, and I mean, it's helping kids. I mean, to me, that was big.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a question. So about that, and you kind of touched on it because I wanted to know how you balance the entertainment part with the education part, because you got to keep their interest, right? And sometimes it's harder to keep the little kids' interest than it is, right, the adult.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? And then how do you see AI helping you, or maybe it won't help you? So how do you feel about AI moving into the future?
Okay, well, that's funny because now you step off of something else. But I will say, when you talk about entertaining, and one of the things when we would train dads to go into classrooms, voice reflection, changing your voice, all that stuff. So it's like I talk about my niece, my great nephew right now. If I go over there, it's time. Hey, read me a book. He running, to grab one because we're gonna make it fun. I'm gonna change my voice. If it's a female voice, I'm gonna talk like a female. If it's an old groggy voice, I'm gonna, if it's a monster, I'm gonna, changing. So it's all that reflection when you read, when you do things. I mean, obviously with AI, they're capable of doing all that. They might. I mean, if you need somebody to talk like a bird, they can have a bird. They can, AI is limited possibilities, when used correctly. So,
but do you think that might be something you might lean toward helping you even write a book coming up, or would you say no? I need to rely on my entire mind, creativity, abilities, etc.
Look, you gonna get me in trouble because what's funny. I had a friend actually that. Had wrote a poem for his wife, and it was just beautiful, just immaculate. And everybody's like, man, where'd he get that? Man, he really did a great job. But of course, with AI, they got tools that you can use to see if it's AI. So she read it through, it was AI. And so and then so I said, okay, now let me. Like I said, I do poems. Majority of the time, birthdays, special events, funerals, and things. But I wrote a poem. I said, run that through your AI check. Ran that through the AI check, and it came back. It was 100%. Original,
Okay,
basically,
original,
would not.
yeah.
But what I have done, I've been asked to do some different things from poetry, and I'm, somebody that I may not know real well. So coming up with thoughts is kind of tough for me. So I go to my AI and I say, give me a poem. They give me a poem, and it's decent, but I'm not going to use that.
Right.
I'm going to personalize it. So
Right.
it gives you, it can kickstart you and get you
Absolutely.
down that path. So
That's awesome.
So yeah, potentially.
I want to ask a question in the relevance and how it is today. Where we're not encouraging a lot of kids to read. Even in schools, they're giving them iPads, they're giving them things. There's no hard books anymore. Yeah. How do we keep that culture in, having kids turn pages, having kids being interested in looking at that picture, not just a video or flipping through, but really tangibly having books that, because I remember I still got books, from kids.
I love books.
Yeah, but and you go read them like Doc V. After a while, you might have read them 100 times, but you go back and read them. But how do we return that culture of having kids having tangible books to be able to read?
But it's funny though, because you just said it. I'm not that old school that I think an ebook. If you got an ebook, if they reading it, they reading. I've had people send me stuff and they've talked about. Again, that's probably gonna be my next step is to put my books, in an ebook. So therefore, you're getting that same effect because again, now you got somebody, a professional reader or that AI voice that's reading that book, and you still are, scrolling through the page. As long as you're reading, it's not an audio book, an ebook. You need the same animation. You need the same. So it's the same. But you old school, like we all old school. So you say we need a book, but I think it still has the same effect.
Okay. So in defense of the books. So I'm glad you have them just like that, tangible paper. We can turn, underline, etc. Right? Exactly. Do highlight whatever. But so one of the things that I think is great about books, and I get it with the ebooks and the different audio books, is that just like I said when I said I ran across your book the other day. You don't run across it sometimes when it's hidden and all of that data and, with the electronic stuff. So, but when you looking at your bookshelf and I look and I happen to see it, and I was like, oh my God. I remember when Jay made, so I'm pulling it out and, I'm reading it. So I just want you to know. So that'll never, AI, electronics will never take the place of me being able to pick it up and look. And then you can't autograph those on the electronic.
Hey, that's 100% correct. You're right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up an ebook. Because let's talk about the publishing part of it, that journey. Because I know a lot of people, myself included, a lot of people have started a book or they have a book finished, but they haven't put it out there. They haven't published it. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges with publishing, any recommendations that you have, but also the successes. You talked about the ebook. I know there's Amazon. There's all different types of publishing and ways to publish a book. So let's talk about that journey for a second.
Yeah, well, me, actually, I've been self-published, but you're exactly right. There's so many different publishing companies that you can go with, and it's all just about whatever fits your need. Because again, you sign with certain publishers, they're going to change your cover, they're going to kind of get a little more control, whatnot. There's different costs and fees associated with, or how much you can make. But it's just all about really what you're trying to do. We've got some established authors that are doing big things in Fort Wayne. And I know, they're at a national level, and they have publishers. One young lady, shout out to Sonia. She, literally has deadlines that she have to meet. Where they're like you see with big time authors. She's get fronted some money, and you need to produce by such and such a date, and she's working. E. Scott Smiley is another one of local author that is doing it. I often say, people call me an author, and I kind of laugh because, and I just heard somebody on a talk show the other day, they talked about him, and he wrote a book. And they said, he said, am I an author, or am I just sharing with stories about my family with you? And I can do but laugh because that's really, am I an author, or am I just sharing stories with you? And when people call me that, the different hats that I wear, I'm used to people saying, hey, I seen you, you coach. I seen you on TV. Hey, I used to come to Urban League. Hey, you helped me at Housing Authority. But the thing that the first time it ever happened, somebody said, I know you. And I'm waiting for it to be one of those things. And they said, my daughter has your books.
Oh, wow.
We read your books.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, and over at the Pontiac Library, shout out to them. They were big, and I've got some, downtown library. And this was all back in the day. I'm just now rekindling and getting ready to get started back up and do things again. And,
Yes.
Back in the day, the United Way helped me a lot. So I kind of went a different avenue, like I said, self-published, and had ends with, I went to, your MLKs and hit all the preschools and went in and did readings. And when, United Way did events, they would purchase books and we'd give away to kids and things of that nature. So I stayed connected like that. I get a listing right now. They still send it. I haven't really utilized it. But you can tap into all the libraries around the country, and they purchase. So there's things that you can do. It's just, how much you want to hustle, how much, again, wherever you're at with doing what you want to do.
Right.
With that, and you spoke leading in about financing and finances that you do that. Now, undertaking any project, there's a cost, but what would you say to an author to investigate before they invest in a cost or get into some of those deals where you got deadlines? With any intellectual properties that you're putting out, there's some possibilities of some, you fall into pitfalls or things like that. What would you tell an author that's coming up? You're going to release your first book. What should you investigate first?
Yeah, I think, when you're getting off into people giving you deadlines, that means you're established, you done sold. You're gonna start out. Most authors, local authors, they're gonna start out one of these self-publishing deals that you're gonna write. You're gonna write your story. They're gonna get it out there and see what happens.
Right.
So once you establish, or you move so many books or whatnot, that's gonna change. As far as who you really want to be with. I just say, as far as your cost, again, if I'm with a publisher that I'm going to make, 10% or something like that, you want to look and see how much is their take of what they're going to do, because what they're going to sell you is we can market, we can create it for you. A lot of this stuff, like I said, I hooked up with a graphic designer myself, and we had a fee set up. Writing. I don't need an editor.
Right.
I'm editor too. Shout out to Kendra Ridley. And she was always, a great source of inspiration. But I'd get it to her. I took it to whatever school I was coaching to at the time. Have a relationship with one of the English teachers. I'd have them look through it. So these are all the things that, again, if you get with a publisher, they're going to sell you, or you get it to them. They have all these different departments. My stuff is small enough that I knew exactly what it is that I wanted to do,
right.
And what my costs were going to be, and I left it at that. But again, not everybody has those resources and whatnot. And if you go write a big novel or whatnot, and you need some expertise on things, then you might want to talk with some of these folks and get a professional opinion and let their editors handle it.
Yeah, good advice. Before we head out, I actually have a kind of a two-part question. So the first question is, where can someone purchase your books should they choose to do so? And also, do you have any upcoming plans for any additional books?
Okay. Well, at this point right now, like I said, I'm revamping. I had a website that I kind of let lapse. I'm in the process of getting it back up. I've actually, because I have an LLC that I just started, a new one. And once I get all that set up, people will be able to go on there and get it. If somebody wants to book now, I've got a lot of people that'll inbox me through Messenger or whatnot. Okay. It is a great way of reaching out. Just let me know.
Okay.
But once my website is up, I will make sure
you'll let us know.
I will let people know. But in the meantime, yes, feel free, get out to me. And I would like to say this too, because I didn't touch on this one. And this is Me and C Agape, and which we focus on agape love. And if you notice, this is the first time I use an illustrator. And so, a shout out to, Teresa Yarborough, excellent, artist. And you say, what's next? I actually have about 5 that are written. So it is just a matter of getting them copywritten and then finding somebody that can be a good illustrator as Teresa. Teresa had moved off to California, but she's since returned and been doing, different things. So I don't know where she's at right now. I might have to, revisit or, just get in touch with somebody else. But again, shout out to all the church communities. If something, hey, great. BNC Agape is good for, get to the young people in the church.
Valentine's Day coming up.
There you go. But,
I need a copy of each.
All righty. You got it, sir.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I got 2 goddaughters that I would love to give that to.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here for the evening, we do want to thank you for being here, for sharing this piece of information that many, myself included, did not know about you. Also, for encouraging other people, that are watching, and maybe it's not a book, maybe it's another venture or something that you're passionate about, that you're wanting to put out there for other people to see. We always want to encourage that. Where there's so much talent in the city, not just the city, but everywhere. But there's a lot of talent right here that I know for sure could be shared with all of us, a wealth of information. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I want to remind you, tomorrow during the day at 8:30 a.m. is our Financial Pillar Show. In the evening, we have NV In Depth at 8:30 p.m. Thursday, we have Respect the Game at 8:30 p.m. And then Friday is our mental health set, and that is also at 8:30 as well. Anything you would like to add as far as what we have coming up?
And I was
Just getting back to it?
Yeah, but I would encourage everybody to watch our show tomorrow, because we're going to touch on a subject that is in the news that affects us all if you look at it. It's about DEI and the elimination of DEI. So we're going to touch on DEI tomorrow. So we encourage you to chime in, watch us. If you have any comments, you know what the topic is about, leave comments so we can be able to interact with you.
It's definitely a hot topic right now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of hot topics that we could be discussing, but we only have so much time. So we do want to thank you for being with us this evening. Thank our guests. Thank our panel, V, Clarence, JJ. Thank you for being with us. Thank you
Appreciate
for being
you
with
having
us. We do want to remind you before we exit, Veronica, what do we always say?
Always protect your mind. A podcast by Neutral Voices Media Group. In the Know.